Hello, I am Melanie Browning with Spotlight, and I know this is night two in a row of bringing to you live interviews from a few of the wonderful gentlemen over at Ripchord Entertainment. So tonight I have Greg Marion, and he is here now, so let me get him on.
Hey,
Hey, hello, greetings. How are
how's
we?
it going?
Another day I'm above the ground, so that's a good thing.
That's always a good thing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm
My
excited that you are here. So,
uh,
Greg, what you're part of Ripcord Entertainment,
yeah,
and what exactly do you do for Ripcord? What is your art that you bring to the table?
I'm kind of the more hands-on, not necessarily just labor, but also I'm also the guy that has to oversee the size of the venue, the amount of people, the restrictions, all sorts of different ways of what makes the show actually function and what it requires to make the show function. Because you can overpower or underpower a show, and I'm the guy that kind of makes the call on all the gear. And then when it is actual showtime, I get to play my instrument, which is the soundboard. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
That's so cool. So where did you begin? I know that you have a family history of music. Can you shed a little bit of light on that? Like what was that like growing up?
I'm uh,
And
I'm kind of what they call an old soul. Um, my father was born in 1937, and my mother in 1941, and I happen to be born much later in life from that. I have two sisters that are actually 16 years older than me, and I'm 41. I have no shame in my gray, so we're good. Um, but growing up like that, it was actually kind of a unique perspective on life because I've already dealt with someone who's gone through so many generations, and they were already musically inclined because my grandparents came over on the ships, to like Ellis Island. Marion isn't even my normal last name. They couldn't pronounce our family name, so my great grandfather just put his finger on a book, and there it was.
new
And
beginning. Yeah.
yeah, and it came from then, from all the laborers and all that, and music was something that harmonized everyone together.
Mm.
And from that, I grew up hearing polka, most of my life, Dixieland jazz, all that. And then my father fell in love with country music, even though this whole family's from Cleveland, Ohio, mind you.
Okay.
Migrated into Chicago and back and forth. Um, we're Irish Polish, so it's kind of it's a weird family mix, but it works out nice because then I also had the Celtic side that I learned a lot more of the traditional style of music playing, and as more hands on, where they were only using what they had around them, and that was nature. So I was always brought up into it, and even in the womb, my father would put headphones on my mom's stomach and produce sound that way, and it's always kind of been like that. That's so it coming up from that really kind of put me into it, whether I like to or not. And it was very funny about it is I grew up with that old school, then I went into country, and from country I started hanging out with some guys called the Funk Junkies. Turned me to this rap and roll menagerie, and I started my own record label for a while called No Luck Records. And
I I saw that transition and I was really curious about how you went from polka to,
the
to
trend,
that.
actually, the universe forced it upon me. Um,
Mm.
like I had stated earlier, like in my bio, the migration was always there because in the off times from the ranches, I would come to the valley and like work construction during the day and bartend at night. And because I knew musical things at those times, the clubs, they're like, "Oh, you can mix that? Well, we don't need a sound guy. Our bartender can do that." So I would go over and mix the shows as I'm mixing drinks.
That's
And
awesome.
I had offers left and right for different ranches all throughout the state, and I actually was honored to become the ranch manager for Black Rock Ranch in just outside of Safford, Arizona. It's a 32,000 acre ranch, and during the course of the few years that I was working there, I would still come back and I was traveling. And this is before the time I started making my own music, but I was still producing and doing stuff with people because, I mean, I have free time at night. So, you know, you can do that kind of thing. And, sorry. From that, I wound up getting kicked in the shin by a horse. I had to rehabilitate that. Well, in that process in time, my father had got diagnosed with cancer. So when I got rehabilitated, I came back to the ranch for a while, and we happened to have a real bad drought that year. This was probably like 03, 04, and everything was, you know, kind of tight. So I figured it was better that I came down to the valley and took care of my family, and I could always find side work from there. And not within 20 hours of me moving back, my friends, the Funk Junkies, had invited me to a show that they were doing at a certain venue. And at the end of the night at the venue, I was being normal me. I'm going to help out, and I grabbed a loading ramp, and I went to help lower it onto a stage, and unbeknownst to anyone else in the crowd, there were some Baja trucks that were on display. And a guy tried driving one to get out of the crowd and didn't realize he didn't have any brakes until he had revved the engine, popped it. And when he did, he swerved it towards the stage, and I was standing there holding the loading ramp, and he ran me over and took me out of commission completely. And that kind of sealed the deal with that. But what that did, I could still go cowboy if I wanted to, but at that point, I didn't know what else to do in life because I'm waking up on the ground, and that's when the Funk Junkies and Atlantis were like, well, we can make you a real pro sound guy. We can give you a job and rehabilitate yourself, and let's rock and roll. So
that's one knock into the business from the universe.
Yeah, they're like, no longer a cowboy, you're a sound guy. See you later.
How is that? Real quick, I want to say hi to Alex. He's loving your mustache, by the way.
Yeah, I've been working on it. My is helping me find the proper mustache wax to get it going. So
awesome. And also, hello, Diane. Thanks for joining us. How did that set with you? I mean, it's good that you had, like, it sounds like it was pretty quickly that transition available to you, but how did that sit with you as far as changing?
It was different because I was used to doing things a certain way. Ranch mentality and I would call it city life are really different, but yet I figured out throughout the years it's actually not. The way I have to handle a band, the same way I would have to handle certain wild horses, or move certain crowds a certain way, or get that feeling is the same way I'd have to control by the way my actions were. I could, and I actually found a peace with it, because the music, if you strive hard enough in what you're doing to accomplish a good sound, you're not only helping everyone, you're helping yourself at the same time. So it really healed my soul a lot and helped me out. And it was a weird transition, but good. Because I mean, I also known a lot of country artists for most of my life too. So you can imagine there's many a sing-along that happened out on the trail on the ranch. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I love the way that you explain it. And I can almost get like a visual, definitely a feeling of just having the music flow and having it heal you. And through that process, like, it's so amazing how connected we are. So while you're doing that, when we gain and when we benefit from things, the crowd feels that, and then we feed off of that as well. So that's
one thing you can always tell is if the sound guy's having a bad day. You'll walk by and go, what was that? Whoa.
That's amazing. Super awesome. I saw on Facebook a couple different instruments around in pictures. What do you play in addition to the soundboard?
Actually, I was first started actually professionally started training at about 8 years old on the drums. I started out, of course, as in a school band, but I progressed, through snare and a bit of drumline. I never really got into drumline. I didn't like the non-flexibility I could feel of an actual drum kit. Because, like I said, growing up, there's pictures of me of my uncles or my dad sitting on his knee and he's working the pedals and I'm playing the drum kit. And there's pictures of me now with my children doing the same thing on drum kit. And percussion is just something that always came natural to me. But I also play the electric bass. I'm trying to learn a little more upright. I won't say I'm proper enough to try to play it in public yet, but I'm all right on electric bass. And my newest project that I really am trying to get into is the acoustic guitar, because I want to go back and start really songwriting a lot more. So.
Oh, that's exciting. That's super exciting. What do you think's fueling that passion?
It's kind of the same reason that I started making the music that I did. Was I've seen so many people that are trying, and I give everybody an A for effort for trying, but the ones that believe they're good when they're technically not so good, that actually it lights a fire in me to go, wait a minute, I can do that better, or I know someone that can do that better, so I'm going to push and produce that person and let people realize that, so that they're not getting blinded by some counterfeit scheme, and it's kind of a scheme that way, because if you're in it for music, you don't care about the money, you don't care about the fame. All you care about is that your message is making it out to others. And if you can connect through others with that, that's worth more than gold. So,
Absolutely.
and I mean, I've dealt with multiple platinum selling artists, some of the biggest artists ever in the business, and they could be 1,000 to 200 times more humble than somebody that's had one hit. And that's what's always really kind of kept me in perspective to go, oh, all right, I get it.
Yeah, it's super great to be able to feel that off of people and to really see and be excited for when they do become successful.
I had the privilege of learning both sides of don't meet your heroes and meet your heroes. I've had the pleasure of working with some of the guys that are originals, and they're no longer even with us, and it's sad to say, because they had so much they could have shared with other people if people took the time to get to know them, and not just know them for the fame, but learn the knowledge that they learned. I had the experience and honor of being the last person to be Diamond Dave Somerville's personal sound man. He was from a group called the Diamonds. And the Diamonds were, oh, little darling, bop, bop, oh, my darling. Yeah. Diamond Dave Somerville, the last one. And even, I think he was 87 at that point, and he could still hit every note, pitch, perfect.
Nice.
The easiest vocal I had ever worked with in my life. I barely had touched the gain and the fader, and I didn't hardly have to touch it again. And it was just amazing. And I got to do, I think it was a string of about eight or 10 shows with him and a hired backing band. And the guy that was his accompaniment was Steve something or other, but it turns out he's the guy who wrote the theme Bad Boys for Cops.
That's awesome.
And, yeah. So it's crazy how the world goes around, but being able to deal with people like that. And it was funny because even he knew about Frank Yankovic, the polka guy that my great uncle played for. He even knew who my uncle was. He's like, oh yeah, Adolf used to come sit in and bass sometimes with us too. Yeah, so small world, but
Small world.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's so awesome. I could feel you light up when you're talking about it, and just to appreciate.
It's a sense of pride and a badge of honor, and a lot of this I get more proud about because my family, they all kind of try to keep it to themselves. They did. And it turned into almost a negative thing because there was a secrecy. And it honestly was not known until about 6 years ago about my grandfather being Gene Harlow's accompaniment. Everybody just thought my grandfather was sneaking off and going and playing at a club somewhere. And then when my father passed away, he had left me an envelope, and in it had a signed photograph and a handwritten letter from Jean to my grandfather and thanking him for all the times, and but
Wow.
moving on to her acting career more at that point, so she wasn't probably going to be performing as much. So, but
Wow.
it is a badge of honor, and I was able to settle that back out through the family. And that's why I said music can work in funny ways. It's not always just the song, it's how it's played. So,
That's awesome. I love the generational feel as far as with the music and moving through and how you're passing it on to your children as well. It's so important. You know, I don't come from a music like musicians, but my mother, I absolutely know I get my love of music from my mother because that was one thing that was an absolute. I knew it, and it just to have that, you know, I
hell yeah.
have that from her. She's since passed on, but I still have that. So.
Yeah.
Looks like we have Sugar here, Craig. Hey, what's up, Craig? And Mike and Joey joining us as well. So welcome everyone.
Yes, I do.
Um, so we've gone over a lot of those. So what is it like? Do you have specific goals, anything like that, as far as what you foresee, what you want to move forward with Ripchord, and anything along those lines?
Um, I'd like to bring production back like it used to be. Um, there was a good long period of time. I mean, like the Glenn Miller era, and others like that, where musicians weren't just like looked up to because their music; they were respected for their discipline, for the amount of work that was put into everything. And at Ripcord, we've really tried to bring it back because we all have we all play, we all do music, we all have been doing this for so long, and we can see what it does for people. I watch so many people, and luckily at the Wekopa Casino, we've been doing the live sound since October, and I've watched it just people up, light life back up. And a lot of it, it's not that difficult to do. So if you can do it right and make it not difficult, then isn't that a good thing, I think that's what people need to see. So if we kind of got to be the example for that, well, you know, I've been doing it long enough. I've taught and apprenticed enough people underneath me that I have no problem. And I tell you what, though, one thing I have always learned and I always keep in my head is I learn something new every day. Every show, I learn another little trick. Every show is different. And once again, it's just like back to when I trained horses. No two horses are the same, and no two are going to act the same on the same day.
I
So,
love that.
same band 4 days in a row, and each day that show is going to sound a little different just because of whatever is added up.
That's
So,
so important for people to hear, to know, get out there, do what you need to do, hone your craft and be open. I think that's really what I get a sense from you.
be flexible because that, especially with the time, day and age we are now with this COVID, you've got to be more flexible than you ever were. Some of the pride's kind of got to get thrown in the old shirt pocket, and you got to move on from there because it'll come back. We as the human race are pretty tough individuals. We've been around for a while, so I think we can come back over stuff like this. It's all up in here though, and in here in your heart.
Absolutely. There you go.
Major.
Well, I'm very excited. The team that you guys have there, just everyone there, I get the same feel as far as looking forward solutions, maintaining safety, but really getting music back, getting people enjoying it, getting people working. And I'm very excited and I'm happy that you guys are all together pushing forward on this.
Oh, most definitely. That's the beauty of it, is we've traveled so much around, and there's so much talent that's actually in this state. And in the 90s and even in early 2000, it was like, yeah, we got these talented guys, but you still had to hire somebody from out of state to draw a crowd. Now it's kind of, I feel the change can come around, because we're getting a lot more artists that are actually claiming Arizona. It used to be a bit of a tight knot behind the scenes, so that's why there wasn't so many that were like, oh yeah, I'm from Arizona. And yeah, and next thing you know, they claim Nashville or they claim LA, and it's like, wait a minute, I went to high school with you out here. How are you not saying you went to? Wait a minute, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of bands that are from here, like Jimmy World. They went to Westwood when I was at Mountain View High School. Authority Zero, I was in the Boy Scouts with their original drummer. There's tons of bands that are from around here that a lot of people didn't realize, but the scene needed to open up more here in Arizona before anyone even realized there was a scene. Like, we have one of the oldest punk rock scenes in the U.S. Here in Arizona, and people don't even realize that.
Well,
Yeah, so it's
that's
great.
that's the thing, like you continuing to do what you do every day and pushing forward and taking the ownership of that really contributes to that. It's in every single way. So that's very powerful, and thank you for doing that.
Well, that's what, like, guys like Craig and Mike and I we're all trying to do, and we want to bring it back, and we want to bring it back in the right way, so you can actually enjoy the shows, you can enjoy the bands, and let the artists finally reopen back up, because the artists are the ones that they've been shut in so much. I've seen a lot of bands that they'll never recover from COVID, and they're done. I've seen a lot of guys that had to go out solo, and it's like, wow, I haven't seen you do that since you were a kid, and whoa. Yeah, and they're like, I don't know, they're lost. They don't know what to do themselves. So hopefully with the stages, that the way they're going now, and the reopening of things, by us already having our foot in the door and keeping a mask over our toes, we're going through it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Where can people find you? What's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
If they just go to the ripcordentertainment.com, the Ripcord site, there's links to contact me there. You guys can message me through there. It also links up to my email, so if you want to shoot me an email through there, it'll connect to my personal email. If not, it's funny, Mel got me to reopen my Instagram. I'll have an Instagram. You guys can chat at me on that. And Facebook is actually one of the best ways to find me. Is just look up Greg Marion on Facebook. I'll be one of the first ones to top up. So
Awesome. Well, I really, if you want to share music on your Instagram, it's a great platform for it, and I'll definitely check it out. So
now,
thanks.
I have some of my old stuff that we're gonna re-release here soon. So the mixtape stuff, just some fun music, just to play in your house when you're cleaning your house.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, thanks for humoring me and getting your Instagram going again. And thank you for joining here. Is there anything else? Yes, we do love Greg. That's Craig giving you a shout out. And hello, Charla. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Are there
guys.
any other tips, anything that you want to offer artists that maybe are wanting to get into performing on a bigger scale, but they're just kind of holding back? Do you have any quick tips of advice for them?
The old saying, nose to the grindstone, guys. If you want to make it, it's not about anything except you wanting to make it. So you're only getting a few gigs right now. In 6 months, you may be over flooded with gigs. All you have to do is stay diligent, but don't beat yourself up over it. And don't cut yourself short either, because there are people out there that'll try to undersell your talent right now, and don't do that. If you got talent and you're good, you'll make it through. It's just putting your nose to the grindstone and taking the gigs as they are, because in 6 months, who knows? In a year, who really knows? So stick to it, guys.
That's super awesome. It brought me back to when you began. You said, it's got to be with your heart as well. So
Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And I will throw that ripcordentertainment.com in the link. So thank you so much. Have a great night.
All right. God bless, guys. Have a good night.